And this one is brought to us courtesy of Byron Weaver. Thank you, Byron. He sent this to me. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Halloween Bad Blood. Josh Stolberg details the sequel that would have brought back Jamie Lloyd. You have my interest. I've always been interested in the character. I'm a big fan of the Thorn trilogy. I'm a fan of Daniel Harris, but I've always loved that character of Jamie Lloyd. And even Rachel Carruthers. I love those two characters so much. They're two of my favorite characters in the Halloween franchise. I prefer those two over Laurie Strode. That's a controversial statement, but it is what it is. And so I don't think Jamie Lloyd ever got a proper send-off. And now that, Jamie Lee Curtis has come back twice, and I don't blame Blumhouse for bringing her back again. That's dollars. They know that they got a better chance of getting a hit with her. But there was a script written post-Halloween Resurrection, although I don't know if Resurrection was actually canon, but it was going to be an adult Jamie Lloyd. So we're going to read through this, guys, okay? So bear with me here because this is the first time I've read it too, but I'm curious about this story. If you're curious about this story, then read along with me, okay? If you're a Jamie Lloyd fan, but I definitely want to entertain this, all right? Okay. So they do their introductions with Phantom Limbs. They said they had an interview with screenwriter Josh Stolberg, known for penning such horror films as Piranha 3D, Sorority Row, which I like Sorority Row. That's a fun one. Jigsaw. I haven't seen Jigsaw, the last Jigsaw movie, before Spiral. I've heard it's not that good. Chris is a big Spiral fan, though, so he could let us know. Did you like Jigsaw? And the upcoming Spiral. Oh, so he's part of Spiral, the Book of Saw. Mr. Stolberg here discusses his multiple brushes with the shape throughout his career, while two of his potential projects have been discussed at length in current available, Taking Shape 2 specifically, his Halloween Hellraiser crossover, and an intriguing screenplay called Halloween Asylum, mostly focusing on a breakdown between his pitch for Halloween Bad Blood. Yeah, he wrote a treatment for Michael versus Pinhead. I know that. He says he's had a bunch of swings at Halloween. He reveals the beginning of our chat. The first one came really early in my career. I pitched two different versions of Halloween sequels to Mustafa Akkad. Halloween was one of the first horror movies I ever saw as a kid. Blah, blah, blah. At the time, though, I wasn't a horror writer. When I first got started in the industry, I was writing for kids, television, and comedy. No one's just going to hand you the keys to the castle when you just don't have the credits. But I did wind up scoring two different meetings with Mustafa and pitched him. At one point, we, Mr. Stolberg and early writing partner Bobby Florsam, pitched him Halloween versus Hellraiser. We called it MVP Michael versus Pinhead. It was a lot of fun. I'd watch it. I mean, I'd be shocked if it's good, but I would definitely watch that showdown. I don't know. Would you guys watch that? Let's read on. So let's read a little bit about Michael versus Pinhead. Why not? Let's entertain it. Mr. Stolberg describes this initial pass at the franchise. There was this survivors group of final girls, basically. We brought in Kirsty from Hellraiser at the beginning, and it basically becomes a battle royale between Michael and Pinhead. One of the things I love about horror and writing in this genre is how vastly different the tones of films can be. At that time, when I was writing that particular pitch, I really leaned into the camp. I wouldn't say it was silly, but it definitely had touches of camp. I was going through my Evil Dead phase. So that could have been interesting because I think those two properties are so damn serious. And putting them against each other, I think would, multiply the seriousness in a bad way. So I think you'd probably want to go more of a camp, like a darker camp fashion. But it could still totally fall on its face. Just the idea of putting Myers and Pinhead together. I don't know. It would. I'd still watch it though. So anyway, reading on. When we went in to talk to Mustafa, we had a very specific idea as to what the franchise was and should become. He was very set in his ways as to who the Michael Myers character was, and if it deviated at all from his talking points. I still remember when I went into the meeting, he gave me a piece of paper, and it was like, I'm reading this in like Mustafa's voice, there are the rules of our universe. It really spoke to the bloodline of the Strode family, and he was very much into that. And ours broke a lot of rules set up in that document. And if you guys remember Mustafa Akkad, he loved the franchise so much. And he died, I believe, before Rob Zombie's Halloween came out. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somewhere around there he passed. But, yeah, he was always very strict. And I know one thing is he never wanted to make fun of Myers, make fun of the boogeyman, which is what they kind of did in a little bit of a way in Resurrection, and that's kind of what makes that movie really horrible. But, yeah. Anyway, reading on. Ultimately, this approach would never make it beyond the pitch stage. However, the writers did take some elements from this initial story and wove them into a new tale titled Halloween Bad Blood. The second one that I put together, because of that conversation, was focused more on the bloodline. We came in with an idea that was based on the actual bloodline. Okay, this is where it's getting interesting. I'm seeing what you guys think. Yeah, he died in 2005, I think. Yeah, I think you're right. So that was right before Rob Zombie's Halloween. After Freddy vs. Jason, I'm good with these types of movies. Brandon says, no offense, Chris, but if you ask me, I think Myers is the most uninteresting slasher. Brandon, I've heard other people say that too. I guess it's like you either love Myers or you don't. For me, I guess it is Myers. For me, it's always been the mystery of Myers and not knowing, but you know that he's evil. You know that there's something there, and there's no remorse. There's really no emotion in the character whatsoever, but there are these little moments, these little hints of emotion that do come out from time to time, and boom, that's when I find them interesting. Like the fact that somebody was able to break through, and usually it's Loomis that was able to do that, and that's why I miss Loomis so much. And there was quite a few moments like that in the Thorn trilogy where you'd have these exchanges between Loomis and Myers, and that's, like, to me, I think if Loomis isn't in the picture, then Myers isn't as interesting. And I think that holds true with Halloween 2018. I think James Jude Courtney is amazing as Myers, but man, just imagine if you had Loomis in that picture, and they had this like exchange with each other. It would just elevate it that much more, because Laurie Strode's not his sister, but there's always been that connection with Loomis, and just the you got a frame, right? And you got Loomis on one side, Myers on the other, and they're staring at each other. There's something about that exchange, that situation, that always gets me, And I think that's why I've always been obsessed with Myers as a character. But I get why some people, they're not willing to dive deep into the character to know a little more, because it's not something that comes at you. You have to go to it. That's the way I see Myers, and that's why I love him so much, Let's read on, okay? Okay, ultimately, this approach would never make it beyond the pitch stage. However, the writers did take some elements from the initial story and wove them into a new tale called Halloween Bad Blood. Okay, we read that. Opening in Chicago with a support group for victims of domestic violence, Bad Blood introduces us to a collection of characters dealing with their own personal traumas. Some are abused by their children, others stalked by their husbands. The last member of this group to take the spotlight is one Jamie Lloyd. Chills. Now grown up and to be portrayed by Danielle Harris, who played young Jamie in Halloween 4 and 5 before being replaced by J.C. Brandy in Halloween Curse of Michael Myers. Wait, Jamie Lloyd as an adult? So this film would have been a follow-up to Halloween 6? Yes and no. I have a date stamp from around November 2000, 20 years ago. So that places this project before Resurrection, the final film before Rob Zombie's remake. But after Halloween H2O, which effectively retconned Jamie Lloyd out of existence, oh wow, so yeah, if not for H2O, then this probably would have had a better shot at getting made. So I guess in a way, and it's not really Jamie Lee Curtis's fault, but Laurie Strode nixed any possibility of Jamie Lloyd coming back. Damn. So anyway, let's read on. So why would Jamie Lloyd have acted as the lead this time around? Well, it always goes back to that mandate to stick with the Myers-Strode bloodline. We were going to use Jamie Lee Curtis, and we were told point blank that H2O was her final movie. The crazy thing is, she still did the death scene in Resurrection. It was basically said to us that she's no longer doing any more Halloween movies. With Laurie Strode out of the picture, Jamie Lloyd was once again handed the reins to the franchise. God damn, guys. This is insane. This is fanboy stuff for me, okay? This is fanboy stuff for me. But, man, I'm kind of sad just reading this. You know, are you guys Jamie Lloyd fans? Are you guys, like, getting chill bumps from this, or is this just me, like, I don't know, stroking myself? I don't know. That's a bad way to put it, but damn, man, this is really blowing my freaking mind. How did I never know about this? I need a minute. I gotta process this. Wow. The possibilities of the franchise, too, because this could have introduced, like, a whole new trilogy. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy that we are in the position that we are in today, okay? Halloween is having the greatest heyday of all time right now, all right? Of any slasher movie. So, I can't blame them. Halloween 2018 is a solid movie, but, I mean, in my own little corner over here, fanboy corner, I would have loved this. All right, let's read more, okay? Let's read more. I had to process for a minute. Okay. Yep, there's Jamie Lloyd. Halloween 4, second best movie in the entire franchise. Okay, once Jamie has the floor in her group meeting, she describes her own troubles. This is my first time reading this, guys, okay? Let's process this together. These are the words of Jamie Lloyd. All right, these are the words of Jamie Lloyd right now. Here we go. It's been 7 months and could we get Danielle Harris to read this? Do I need to get Danielle Harris on here so she can read these lines? I would love to do that. I need to do that. Danielle Harris, if you ever see this, just by chance, I'd love you to come on this show and I'd love you to read these lines. Oh my God, this would be insane. Okay, anyway. It's been 7 months and 4 days since Michael tried to kill me. She describes her situation to her fellow support group members, detailing the thorn curse. The thorn curse, guys! Michael Myers. Michael Myers is dead. No, I'm just kidding. My family is gone. I'm the last one. If I die, Michael wins. I keep moving, but he's always there behind me. I can't date. I can't hold down a job without everyone getting massacred. Oh my God, guys. That is some heavy shit. Like, these are the thoughts of Jamie Lloyd as an adult. And what would it be like if your uncle was always behind you trying to kill you? You can't lead a normal life. You can't date. You can't. Oh my God, this is insane. I burped, hold on. I'm probably overreacting, okay? But this is like, I'm such a Jamie Lloyd fanatic. I'll call it a fanatic, all right? So you guys are just getting to enjoy me gush, I guess, okay? She even goes so far as to reveal how much effort she's put into tricking the shape while trying to stay alive from the treatment. She even talks about some wild things, like having used body doubles to escape him, and even having a blood supply on hand at the hospital for the next attack. He just keeps coming. God damn. That's good stuff. On a break for the group, an attacker appears, an angry husband wielding a knife, looking for his wife. Jamie steps up and disarms the husband, revealing that her constant fights with Michael have honed her self-defense capabilities. Just as the situation is diffused, Michael appears and attacks, slaughtering his way through the support group to get Jamie. Holy... What? Oh my God. Can you imagine this scene? Wow. Oh my God. Well, I don't know if that would work. Like, that's too quick, right? Like, I think it would be better if she gets through the support group and then she goes home and maybe she looks out her window and then boom, there's Myers. Basically stating to her by the look, I'm here. And I just want you to know that you're not safe. I think having him attack that abruptly and that quickly, I don't know, maybe playing out on film though, maybe it would work better, but okay, anyway, let's go. Let's read on. In the chaos, both Jamie and the Shape are struck by an oncoming ambulance, seriously injuring her and apparently killing Michael. The two are transported to the hospital where Jamie is treated for her wounds and sedated for coming off of a hysterical as she attempts to warn them about her murderous uncle. As she's being given blood from her own personal supply at the hospital, the doctors marvel at the amount of scarring on her body. That's cool. The doctors can't believe the number of scars and stab wounds on Jamie's body from all of her run-ins with Michael. This pretty girl looks like a one-woman war zone. Guys, can you imagine if this came out instead of Resurrection? Unfortunately for Jamie, a simple mistake made by a nurse propels the plot forward, significantly increasing the number of potential targets for Michael. From the treatment, in the chaos, the nurse screws up and puts Jamie's personal blood supply in the main storage freezer with no name. Her bloodline is what Michael is trying to wipe out, and it's about to get put into 7 random people unlucky enough to get a transfusion with the curse of Thorn attached. What? That's strange. Okay. Mr. Stolberg elaborates. There was a story point in the movie where Jamie winds up getting blood taken from her. This blood winds up being put into other people. So from our first Mustafa meeting, we leaned into the idea of the bloodline quite literally. It was our way of being able to expand out the franchise and make it so that we weren't having to go after the same person every single time with each movie. Okay, I see where they're going with that, but I think it probably would have ended the franchise just as fast as Resurrection would have. I think the movie would have been a lot better than Resurrection. It definitely would have been darker and more... You know, it would have kept the darkness of Myers intact, and he wouldn't have been made fun of. I mean, because Myers sounds pretty damn scary in this treatment, but the idea of branching the bloodline out to other people, it literally, you're thinning out the family to try to get lackluster sequels. That's what you're doing. So it eventually it would not have worked. That's my opinion. And it's sad because at the beginning of this, I think there's some potential there with Jamie Lloyd, but I feel like I would have lost it by the Act 2 on this, and I would have been like, what? So, of course, Michael isn't dead, and soon enough he's on his feet and chasing after Jamie once more, only this time he finds that he is merely after his niece. He's also compelled to chase after the poor recipients of Jamie's blood. These include Amber Lynn, a fake attempted suicide, Betsy, a 10-year-old tomboy with cancer. Oh, wow. Damn, that's dark. Ed, a goth vampire wannabe who sneaks into the hospital and drinks from Jamie's blood supply. This moron. Leon, a badass stuntman who winds up in the hospital after an onset injury. Sheila, a plastic surgery addicted socialite. Berger, a hemophiliac, and Gus, a 24-year-old student who suffers from severe OCD. Okay, so then you have there's your slasher fodder, pretty much. Also introduced in the mix is Horace Merriweather. Think Steve Buscemi, an eccentric serial killer enthusiast whose gothic house is home to an extensive collection of items related to Michael Myers' exploits. So he'd be kind of like the clown dude in Resurrection. Horace and Jamie know one another, with the latter believing Merriweather's home to be her safe haven. From the treatment, we also find out that Horace and Jamie share a symbiotic relationship. He has paid Jamie for Myers' artifacts in the past, allowing her to live on the lam. We even find out that Horace was the one who helped Jamie change her identity and find a decoy. Michael cuts his way through the cast of characters until the climax finds Jamie and Michael alone in the now deceased Merriweather's collection room, where he stores every weapon from the Halloween movies. Wow, okay. They're going back with the lore. The two do battle, wielding every weapon they can get their hands on. It turns into an all-out slasher fest between a badass Jamie and Michael as they go toe-to-toe. This is what we've been waiting to see. Jamie is obviously well-trained. Her whole life spent preparing for this moment. The story also brings back the telepathic connection between Jamie and Michael, allowing the two to have a sense of what their opponent is going to do. That's interesting. So the fight scene is even cooler as each has an idea how each is going to act. So the attack and counterattack gets even wilder. Interesting. Okay. Jamie is... So I think if they fixed a lot of this stuff in the middle, this might have actually worked. Jamie is ultimately saved by Betsy, who uses the heavy farm machinery that dispatched Jamie's double in Halloween 6 to subdue Michael before Jamie ultimately finishes him with the first butcher's knife that Michael ever used. That's interesting. The treatment concludes the original butcher's knife that started it all will be the instrument that will dispatch Michael to his death, and Jamie and Betsy limp into the sunset. Wow. I think there's a lot of potential there.